So I'm Susan Hassall. I've been headmaster at Hamilton Boys High School for 25 years, and during that time I've met some wonderful, wonderful old boys. And one of the very special old boys who I've been privileged to get to know quite well has been an amazing musician, Chris Thompson. And so I would really like to take this opportunity to talk about the person, the man who Chris Thompson is, the husband, the father, the old boy, the son of a very special person who has been a big part of the Hamilton Boys High School world as well. So I first met Chris when I was headmaster, and he visited Hamilton Boys High School for our centennial, 100 years of the school. And he came back and he was part of the concert that we put on at Founders Theatre. Founders Theatre was still there at the time. And he was the main act. He came back to New Zealand for us, and he performed at that concert. People came to that concert just to hear Chris Thompson. And so I was nervous about meeting him. I thought, it's amazing meeting this very famous person. And as soon as he came into the room, he made me feel really comfortable. He made me feel really happy. He treated me as though I was the special one, and yet he was the world-famous musician coming back to Hamilton Boys to give something back to his old school. And so right from the start, I've admired Chris. I've admired who he is as a person. Everybody has to admire who he is as a singer and as a musician and as a writer of music. But unless you know Chris, you don't realise just what a breadth he has of goodness in him. So since then, he's been back to Hamilton Boys High School on several occasions. Each time he comes back, he visits, he's spoken at assemblies, he's been inducted to our Hall of Fame as a very well-known and very successful old boy. He comes back with his wife and with his daughters, and I've got to know them all well. One of the reasons Chris is very connected to the school still is that his father was actually a teacher at Hamilton Boys High School when they first emigrated from Britain, when Chris was a young boy. And tragically his father died quite quickly after he moved to New Zealand, but he was one of the rowing coaches of the school, and we have a boat named after him. And so Chris has always taken a huge interest in our rowing program. So the Tommy Thompson Memorial Shield is a shield which is a national secondary school rowing trophy, and we're very proud of the fact that Hamilton Boys often wins it, and Chris always gets a photo of himself when he comes back in front of the trophy cabinet next to his father's trophy. What I think Chris does is he provides a phenomenal role model for the young men of our school. When he speaks, when he sings to them, they just sit there in awe, but they also recognise the fact that as he tells them, he too sat in those chairs, and he was a boy at Hamilton Boys High School, and he was passionate about his dream, and he went out and he has lived that dream. And he makes it seem possible for them, and he makes it seem possible in a very human way, a very loving way. He's a very loving person, Chris. Very willing to provide genuine friendship, to offer his hospitality if you go overseas, to make the effort to come and see people, to welcome them to his home, or catch up with them in Great Britain if he happens to be there when you're there. He is just a man for whom I have an immense respect and a very real love. I think that it's fair to say that Hamilton Boys High School loves their old boy, Chris Thompson, and their model. I think New Zealand needs to recognise Chris because he is a superb representative of our country. He sees himself absolutely as a Hamiltonian. He's a Hamiltonian through and through. He's proud to be a New Zealander. He talks with huge fondness of the years that he spent in New Zealand, and he still sees himself as coming home whenever he comes back. And he comes back often, and he's made a difference. He's made a difference as an example of a person who can be renowned internationally. He's also made a difference as a person who cares about his country, and he cares about his old school, and he cares about the people who have been part of the same world that he was part of, as he grew up here, as he went to university here, as he became an adult in New Zealand before he was able to go overseas. And he also always gives all the credit for his success to the childhood that he had in New Zealand.
He's very complimentary about his teachers at Hamilton Boys High, especially his music teacher, who he said gave him the wherewithal to feel that he could go out into the world and be a professional musician.
Yes, he does. He always talks with gratitude and with love and with fondness about the music department who were there at the time. I mean, it is a school which has always been blessed by some very talented music teachers, and it's true that teachers can make a difference in people's lives, and people remember those teachers as having that seminal influence on their first steps. And I feel proud when he talks about that, that he gives the school and that particular teacher the credit for him having the courage to take that first step. He has to really look back in the mirror though and realise that he was the one that showed that courage right from the start. And he showed that passion by becoming part of a band right from school years, and from being determined just to be the very best Chris Thompson he could ever be in musical terms and in all the other ways in which he's lived his life.
Of course, he's the first Kiwi to go to #1 in the US, to be on a #1 hit single in the US. But he also wrote one of the 20th century's most iconic anthems, You're the Voice.
Yes. A
song which he's given generously. He gave it to the campaign for Aboriginal rights, the referendum in Australia a couple of years ago. Copped a lot of abuse for that, but when he was approached, you know, he knew it was the right thing to do. And the American presidential race, Kamala Harris, has also been using that song in her advertising campaigns.
Amazing.
So
that's the mark of the man.
That's the mark of the man,
Yep,
and it's also the mark of the song.
It's a superb song.
Continues to inspire people.
Superb song, yeah. He's amazing when you watch him sing in front of the boys. He just breaks into song, you know, and the words of the songs are really special. The words of that song are special. And he gives. He's a giver. He's a giving person. He gives to music, but he gives to people. I think that's a really important aspect of who Chris Thompson is. That's what his wife's proud of. That's what she'll talk about. She doesn't talk about his significance in terms of music. She talks about his significance in terms of being prepared to give, to make the world better.
So I think we're both in agreement. Chris should be in the New Zealand Music Hall of Fame.
Oh, absolutely. There are very few people as deserving as Chris. I firmly believe that he would be a worthy recipient, and it's long overdue. He really needs to be recognised within New Zealand as somebody who's both made a huge difference to the world of music internationally, but he's also very, very much a true New Zealander in heart and in spirit, and that is why he genuinely should be part of the Hall of Fame in New Zealand. We need to be very, very proud of him, because he has done so much that we have to feel proud of. It's as simple as that. Let's get him involved and let's make it happen.